Hey everybody, welcome back to the VIEZU workshop, and you've probably just seen the video. You've probably had to turn your volume down a little bit, so you will need to turn it back up for me now. You've just heard this monstrous F-Type screaming, snarling, induction roar, supercharger whine, and really trying to break free of the dyno, squirming all over the place with rear-wheel drive on here. And you're probably asking, well, how's it doing that? Why is it doing that? So let me take a couple of minutes. We're going to go through some of the modifications that are on here and how you can get these on your F-Type as well. Even with your 3 litre, whether it's a 3 or 5, we've got a huge range of upgrades for you. So let's focus on this first. Let's get into some of the mods that are done. So for the eagle-eyed amongst you, you'll probably notice our wonderful induction kit, our cold air induction kit sat there at the front, flowing up to 40% more air than the standard system. So that's been bench flow tested by the actual manufacturers who've built, computer 3D modelled this as part of our engineering team, 40% more airflow than the standard system. Now, you're probably asking, why do I need 40% more airflow? Well, when we take the standard car from 550 or 575, or even the P450, because remember, that's the fire-breathing 5 litre that's been massively detuned from the factory, whichever model you've got, if we're increasing the pressure through the supercharger, whether it's just through a remap, taking your P450 to 600 or even 610 horsepower just with a remap, it's crazy mentally big power, or we're taking the 550s or the SVRs, or even things like your Project 8s and your Project 7s, when we look at things like the XE with the Project 8, this F-Type is going to pull in way more air. When we get into things like the upper pulley modifications, that smaller pulley on the standard supercharger and our bigger crank pulley to gear up that supercharger to pour more air through, anything we can do to improve the intakes is only going to benefit those upgrades and that tuning. So if you haven't got one of our air intake kits yet, whether it's a 3 litre or 5 litre F-Type, or one of our other Jaguar intake kits, remember we've got them for the XF, the XJ, XK is about to land, Range Rover's on its way. Contact us, let us know, and we'll get you connected with one of those induction kits. It's going to transform how the car sounds and responds. So enough about intakes. Great bolt-on, they're going to improve your power, improve your throttle response and mid-range torque and pull. Really beneficial when we start to get into the bigger modifications like pulley upgrades, etc. So you've probably seen some of our videos already where we've got a sort of 650 horsepower kit, 660, 670, depending on the vehicle and the application on there. Well, we took this a little bit further, and you've probably seen our Predator 2 video. If you haven't, there will be a link somewhere, posted in a screen corner somewhere by a wonderful video department. Check out the Predator 2 video. It's an absolute animal, and this is competing with it now. This has had the same range of upgrades as our Predator. Okay, has got the same graphics over it, trying to go a little bit more subtle bodywork wise, but it has got one of our wonderful wings on the back, helping provide a little bit better downforce, especially as this is a rear-wheel drive. It's an animal. Ours is 4-wheel drive and really tries to torque all over the road with that extra power and upgrades we've done. This is monstrous, but like all good Jags, it's a tame kitty cat when you're just driving gently. So that's the way we design all of our modifications, nice and smooth and progressive, but when you want to scare those big supercar owners and leave the Aventador in your dust, it's under the right foot, ready for you. So coming a little bit closer, Paul, if you come in with the camera, you'll notice some slightly different pipework at the front of this. So on the front of this Jaguar, we've got our Supercharger chiller kit. Now what this is doing, it's hidden behind the crash bar, but you can see there's some extra pipes on here. These are for our AC. Why are we using air conditioning for performance? Well, what we do is we actually take AC gas from the standard system, we obviously top up the gas to the correct values, and we bring that into effectively a heat exchanger down here. So what happens is our nice cold gas comes through here under high pressure, expands through a specific valve. As it expands, goes through the heat exchanger, pulls the heat out of the coolant that's running the opposite way from the other side. So our gas goes in and cools this way, takes the heat out that way, as our coolant gets pumped in on the other side and comes back out of this end. Obviously the pipework leads round into our uprated supercharger cooler pump. Again, another must-have for anyone that's looking for more performance from their vehicle. The uprated supercharger cooler pump, up to 50% more flow than the standard system on the vehicle. It's phenomenal, it flows so much more coolant. And you're asking, well, why do I need to flow more coolant? But it's not about flowing more in terms of a quantity, it's about improving the speed of that. If you can flow that coolant quicker, then you're getting cooler, colder coolant to the supercharger. Once that's in there, it can extract the heat and get back around to be, guess what, cooled again by our uprated charge cooler, then into our chiller kit to complete the circuit and go around again. The more heat we can extract from the charger, the more power the car can run safely, and the longer you can run that car under loaded conditions before the ECU takes over with its thermal management and starts to just gently wind things down a bit. Now, the owner of this particular car is an absolute track day obsessive. He drives it flat out wherever he possibly can, which is exactly how these cars should be driven. If you get the chance, to take it on track, do it, enjoy it. Obviously, sensibly and carefully, of course, but if you get the chance to take one on track, they're an absolute monster. With our upgrades on here, this is beating some big supercars and some specific track day toys. This is beating some very expensive metal. So our chiller at the front, as you can see, so that's our supercharger chiller. We've got our charge cooler operated, thicker, higher flowing charge cooler sat just behind it there. And you can actually see some of the condensation here starting to form on the AC lines because it's running so cold. That's how much coolant is going through there, how much cooler and colder the gas is getting the supercharger coolant. So pump at the front, filters, and then now you're thinking, oh, okay, well, looks like a normal supercharger. And from the top, it does. But underneath that, sitting in the V of the engine, is the Harrap TVS 2300. That's a massive supercharger compared to the standard one, and you'll see some of our videos. Again, check out our video on the Harrap, you'll see the higher airflow, the bigger aperture, just the whole upgrade that's on there, custom CNC machined. It's a fantastic work of art, but more importantly, it gives us even more air. It pulls more air through with the bigger gear set in there, the higher flow rate of the air, and when combined with our custom setup of a specific larger crank pulley and a much smaller top pulley on the Harrap, it allows us to run on this engine 31 to 32 psi in total. So that's total atmospheric included in there. That's a phenomenal amount of power and well within the operating conditions of the engine. We've been running ours for months now. We've put thousands of miles on it, hundreds of dyno runs, and this car must have had in excess of 30 to 40 runs. One of the reasons we do so many on there is because we're proving that chiller kit on the front is working, maintaining that power output run after run after run, really making sure that the car is singing in perfect harmony with all the upgrades. You'll also notice we've got our intake kit at the front there. So the beauty of this intake kit is even after all the runs, and you saw the fire breathing snarling it was doing on the dyno, trying to break free, I can still put my hands on this and I've not got any sort of heat marks or anything on there. It does a really good job at keeping the hot air out and that lovely cold intake air inside. So that's the engine itself. Those are the modifications we've done sort of internally to it. We've obviously replaced a couple of the coolant pipes, so we've got things like the Y pipes and valley pipes and things on there that go to the throttle, improving all of those, changing them out. It's a must do. If you're doing the supercharger, it's one of those preventative maintenance things. Change those coolant pipes. They're prone to cracking, the plastic ones. So we replace them. We've got the upgraded metal ones that we fit onto this car. Even if you're looking at going to the plastic ones, just replace them. About 40 to 50,000 miles, you start to see them crack, and we've actually seen them fail lower than that as well. So that's the engine side of things. Charge cooler, custom mapping, upper pulley, lower pulley, custom upper pulley and lower pulley for the Harrap supercharger, cold air intake. I think I've said operated pump, charge cooler and chiller. Oh, but there's more going on. So whilst this is a two-wheel drive car, it's obviously an automatic, so we've done the gearbox as well. If we're putting all that extra power through the engine, it makes sense that the gearbox is set up and calibrated to understand why on earth 1,000 Newton meters is being sent to it quite assertively, as we've just seen in the video on the dyno. We recalibrate the gearbox not only to accept that higher amount of torque, but to work harmoniously with it. So we improve shift speeds, clamping pressures, line pressures, really sort of remodel the software inside the transmission to make the absolute best of the engine upgrades, so we can try and get the power to those rear wheels that you saw there. We're fighting a little bit on the dyno to try and keep the power down. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you want to find out more about any of our modifications, any of the upgrades we've done here, or whatever we can do for your vehicle, whether it's an Alfa, a Fiat, a Volvo, Volkswagen or a Zonda, doesn't matter, we cater to everything. If it rolls or floats, we can probably offer tuning and upgrades for it. So check out our website, VIEZU.com, or you can call us, of course, 01789 77 4444, and one of our team will be on hand to talk about the mods and upgrades that we can do for your car.